Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's a pretty big day for Scotland, as you can tell. I've got my Scotland colours on, but we're going to focus on Celtic on the channel today. Not that anything huge has really happened over the last 24 hours. This isn't breaking news or anything like that, although the usual cue for breaking news is that two of us will be on doing a live video. This is more a bit of a time to stop, take stock, and look at a facet, fancy word, of Celtic. And what I want to do today is look at Celtic's hunt for a sporting director, something that has been going on since I think I was 7 years old. Now, a shout out to 67 Hill stalwart John, who actually alerted me to the fact that Celtic had a kind of director of football, sporting director type figure at the club last season, and actually the season before that. You'll know his name. I was about to say it was Nick Hammond. It is still Nick Hammond as far as I'm aware, although it's sometimes Nicky Hammond. He was head of football operations. That was his job title at Celtic. However, I think as much as that suggests a kind of sporting director type thing, Celtic are going for perhaps a more all-encompassing guy who is almost as big as the manager at the club. The first reports of Celtic taking this new direction and going for a sporting director are from around about mid-February. Neil Lennon was still hanging on to the Celtic job just about. He only had a few weeks to go at that stage. Sportsmail, which is the sports part of the Daily Mail, reported that Celtic had hired recruitment specialist Nolan Partners to assemble candidates for interview with regards to this sporting director role. This was the first time we'd really heard Celtic talking about this, and the report from Sportsmail even listed 3 potential candidates. We had Matteo Tognozzi, who was, and I think still is, a scout at Juventus. We had friend of 67 Hill and former Bournemouth recruitment chief David Webb, and we had Fergal Harkin, Manchester City's loan manager, who was said to be well known to Celtic. Now, the chat was that it was going to be Fergal Harkin for months. There probably wasn't a great deal of substance in that, really. You could search Fergal Harkin Celtic on Google and you would probably get a fair few results, but the vast majority of them would be speculation. There was actually very little actual concrete evidence of the two being linked at any point. However, it was kind of assumed amongst the Celtic support that Fergal Harkin would be the guy coming in to lead the football operations of this new look Celtic. The idea was you would have Don Mackay, who'd be leading the club, but mainly focusing on non-footballing stuff. And then you'd have Fergal Harkin working above a manager. Remember all the chat about Eddie Howe, Richard Hughes, Fergal Harkin? Could those three work together? Well, it turns out that we didn't have to worry about that because none of them came to Celtic. On the 23rd of March, Dermot Desmond gave that infamous Q&A. I don't know, is it infamous? We didn't really learn much from it, so I don't know if it can be infamous. He basically used the, I think, 6 or 7 questions to slam the likes of Brian Dempsey, have a go at some Scottish mainstream journalists, and probably slag off the Celtic faithful in some sort of cryptic way. What he didn't do was refer to Celtic looking to bring in a sporting director or even hint at Celtic taking some sort of new direction. Any questions about Celtic that weren't slagging off journalists were about the new manager. And again, he didn't give much away. But it was interesting there was no sporting director mentioned there. Now, Don Mackay, when he was doing that interview after Postecoglou had been announced as Celtic manager, you know, the in-house one on Celtic TV, he didn't talk about a sporting director either, but he did speak about a need to modernise and develop both footballing and non-footballing structures at the club. It's kind of vague, but it does hint at certainly a change of direction for Celtic under him. So Harkin has been linked with the role. Gordon Strachan has been, so has John Kennedy, although the then interim manager kind of distanced himself from that. Well, that's putting it lightly. He shot it down when he was asked about that in a press conference. Now we're approaching July. we do have a manager, but we don't have a sporting director in place. And obviously with the new season on the horizon, I don't think it's an ideal situation to be in. Now, I know I did a video yesterday and it turned into a bit of a rant. I genuinely didn't set out to be like that. A lot of people were pointing out that it's more a case of taking our time and getting stuff right rather than rushing into stuff. I wasn't suggesting that we should rush. I was just saying that we don't exactly have time on our side. I know that's not Dominic Mackay's fault. It's the previous people at Celtic for taking so long to do anything, basically. But it is a fact that Mackay and Postecoglou don't have time on their side to gear the club up for next season, both on and off the park, and they have their work cut out. So what happens now? Well, I would certainly hope to hear what Celtic's current situation is with regards to a sporting director. Are we still looking to appoint one? Are we close to appointing one? Have we abandoned those plans? Jerry Murphy was asking in the comments below yesterday's video about whether Celtic have ever actually publicly spoken about a sporting director in a statement or similar. The truth is they actually haven't. There's been no official correspondence from Celtic with regards to this, as far as I can understand. It is clear that the club were pursuing this back in February. They had hired Nolan Partners. It came from a reliable source in the media, and it fits into those earlier comments we gave about Dominic Mackay wanting to modernise the club. It's clear Celtic wanted this, but the truth is that we don't really know. There was another comment as well in the video yesterday, Infinite Reality. I think an Aussie Celtic fan, just based on some of the comments made with regards to Postecoglou, they were pointing out, saying that, as they understand it, our problem at the moment with Celtic is with regards to the communication. I would certainly agree with that wholeheartedly. I think Celtic fans want to be able to buy into next season. We want to be positive about what's going to happen, but we need to know what we're buying into as well. And at the moment, we don't. Who's in charge of recruitment at Celtic? What's the vision of the club? What's the transfer policy? You certainly couldn't identify a transfer policy last season under Nick Hammond, the year before. Are we going to have a transfer policy this season? The early reports about players we've been linked with seems to suggest not. I'm going to give another shout out to John, who raised quite an interesting point earlier today when we were kind of chatting about the issue of a sporting director and Celtic's recruitment. John brought up the infamous, and this is infamous, 2019 leaked transfer document. You remember it. You remember what it looked like. You remember the outcry. This tells us, I think, everything we need to know about how Celtic did their scouting, recruitment, and probably almost certainly how they are setting out to do it this summer. It's all by committee, with the manager getting the final say in transfers. My fear is that without having someone as the director of football or the sporting director or even like a head scout, we don't have that accountability. It's just a group of people in a room saying yay or nay with regards to players that we could sign. Jackie McNamara speaks all the time about the need for accountability in different roles at Celtic, and I think that's one of the advantages of having someone in who makes the final call with regards to signings, or certainly makes the final call, the second final call, before it goes to the manager. Sporting directors nowadays can be celebrities in their own rights. You'll probably be familiar with the names of Cheeky Begiristain, who's at Man City, previously at Barcelona. You've got Paolo Maldini now, who's kind of revolutionised AC Milan. And you've also got Luis Campos at Lille, who's wanted by, I think, basically every big club in Europe. So much at Celtic is about how the club are perceived by fans. Now, I don't know if that's the case at every football club. I don't see any reason why Celtic would be different. Maybe it's just a kind of delicate position we're in at the moment, with fans having so little trust in the key people at the club. But it just seems like more than any other club at the moment, it's how Celtic package things and how fans buy into that that's the most important thing. I really hope this hasn't come across as another rant. I just think it's something that Celtic have to let us know about. We have to find out what is going on with regards to the sporting director. Because as I said earlier, we've actually never had anything official from Celtic yet. It's probably, other than the manager being the biggest talking point for the last 6 months, it's totally bizarre. It would be great once again to hear from Dominic Mackay and hear his plans for Celtic. I am really excited for the Dominic Mackay reign at Celtic. I think the job he's done at Scottish Rugby was excellent. Real innovative thinker. Would it not be brilliant to hear some of his plans for Celtic? Now, maybe we'll get that when he officially starts as his own man on the 1st of July, but now seems like a pretty good time. Wouldn't it be great to get a double press conference, him and Postecoglou answering questions and giving their view on the plan for the future? They're said to kind of share quite similar views on the future, so wouldn't it be great to hear those views? Dominic Mackay, let us know all about the sporting director. Is it something we're still pursuing? What kind of role would a sporting director have? Is it something that we don't feel we need anymore now we've got Postecoglou in? If that's the case, then I don't agree with it, but at least we'd know. It's the not knowing, I think, that's a big frustration for Celtic fans. But I'll leave it there. Huge night for Scotland. Let's hope we do the business. I'll be in the fan zone this evening at Glasgow Green. If you see me, come and say hi.